Climber, are you a song nerd like I am? Of course you are. Do you love geeking out about songs as much as I do? Of course you do. Do you want to listen to today's episode as Johnny and I get to geek out on the stories behind some of your favorite songs with NSAI's Executive Director Bart Herbison? Of course you do. Johnny, do that thing funny. That, of course, you do.
Welcome to the climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. That's where the game is at, guys. You create the leverage. You create the traffic. Who pays the money? That creates leverage. The clubs want to work with you. They'll pay you more money. The managers, the labels, whoever you want to work with, man, they're going to work with you. And it all is in your hands if you focus on creating the leverage. That's why we call it the C.L.I.M.B, C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. That's a backsynonym for my good friend and co-host, Mr. Brent Baxter, who's an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, got number ones in Southern Gospel, top tens in Australia and Texas. But what he really does that's cool that you're interested in is he reveals how he's going to help you turn into a pro songwriter by revealing how you do business like a pro, how you write like a pro, and then he's going to connect you with the pros so you can make that relationship and take the step. You can find Brent very easily at songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. If you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
Dude, this is maybe the most fun on the podcast we've ever had.
So much fun. Zero prep. So much fun.
Yeah, and just great freaking stories that are going to blow your mind about how some of these songs were written from a man that heard it right from the horse's mouth, as it were, right?
That's right. That's right. I'm excited about it. I think if you're, like I said in the cold open, if you're a song geek, if you're a song nerd like I am, this will be catnip for you. It's a lot of fun. I can't wait to share it.
Yeah, I can't either. And by the way, real quick, just a quick plug for Bart. Like, if you love this episode, there's 300 of these on the Tennessean.com/music/story behind the song. And you can consume all those too and get some more.
That's right.
Check out these stories here.
A Paris, Tennessee native, today's guest worked as a reporter and spent 14 years in radio and as a correspondent for the Nashville Banner newspaper before joining the administration of former Tennessee Governor Ned McWhorter as Deputy Director of Communications in 1987. Our guest joined the staff of U.S. Representative Bob Clement in 1988, where he served as a Tennessee Congressman's press secretary, campaign manager, and chief Tennessee administrative officer before leaving Capitol Hill for Music Row in 1997. Our guest is executive director. What? 4?
He's the only one with 4. He got 4 now.
I was going to say, I never get to do anything fun. And for people that didn't see my last episode, where I always have to fight people. It's always so serious. And I was crucifying Spotify, which I'll continue to step on their throat. But you made the mistake, Brent Baxter, of somehow bringing up Justin Timberlake and what is it, the 5-time Green Jacket Club on Saturday night.
Right. So for those of you on the pod, I was just holding up 4 fingers, and Brent had to stop. Like, what's going on? I'm like 4.
I'm in the middle of my intro for our guest. Why are people laughing and everyone's looking at me weird?
You're the serious one this time. I always have to be that guy.
I know. So, ladies and gentlemen, the executive director of NSAI, National Songwriters Association International's Bart Herbison.
You got me all red-faced, Johnny. It's so fun.
Thank you for being number 4.
But let's remember this now. Let's just hold on a minute. I want to get something straight because Brent said, I said, he goes, you're in the 3-time club. I said, that's fantastic. He goes, maybe we've had one that's been 4. I said, then I want to take 2 more. I want to be the 5-time guest. So this is the 4th, but I'm going to get to do number 5, right?
Yeah.
Well, Yeah, well, hey, come
See
on.
Just got a yes from me, Bart.
See how this
Yes.
one goes.
He's got a yes from me.
Exactly.
Yeah, play your cards right here. That's right.
Yeah. No, I've been around you enough to know how it's going to go, and I'm saying yes anyway.
All right.
So this is going to be a fun episode because, like, you know, Bart, we're so grateful whenever you come on and you share everything that's going on. And we're just talking about how you're kicking ass and taking names in Washington, D.C. and fighting for songwriters and really for the music industry in a lot of ways here and what's happening. But today, we don't have to do any business. We're just going to talk about
Thank you.
some fun stuff.
Look how this has aged me, Johnny.
We're just talking about the stories behind some of the biggest songs that you've ever heard, and there's some wild stories that we got. And Bart, now this series is on the. We mentioned it on your last episode that you were on. It's you can go to Tennessean.com/music and then look for stories behind the song, and you can find it there. Is that the right way to navigate it? I think I just
they did it for years, and then for a long-winded reason they quit. And Brent knows me well enough to go, I will annoy you into submission or until you bar me from the building. And I kept telling the Tennessean, y'all got to bring this back. Y'all got to bring this back. And the lady that ran the music department called me once and goes, Bart, you're hurting your credibility over here. I'm like, what? She goes, story behind the song, story behind the song, story behind the song. Like, that's all you ever talk about. And I said, all right, here's our deal. You get the powers that be together one time, let me make the case, and I'll never bring it up again. So she says, I'll do that in 4 or 5 weeks. And it came time, and I called her, and she goes, would you do it? And we started the next Sunday, and that was over 300 episodes ago.
Nice.
But really in Nashville, you know, NSAI owns the trademark. It all begins with the song. Since we're telling song stories, let me tell you about that. So we were very early in our incarnation. And the late, great Francis Preston that ran BMI, and once upon a time ran the entire, you know, music advocacy for the whole world, called NSAI. Now, we're taping this during CMA Music Fest week. Before that, it was Fanfare. Out at the fairgrounds, you'd go see all your favorite stars. Before that, it was the DJ convention up around the roundabout. They'd pull up lowboy trucks. DJs would come in from all over the South. They'd set up their equipment, and the stars would come do interviews.
Wow.
Well, everybody wanted to do morning or afternoon drive. Nobody wanted to do lunchtime. So Miss Francis called NSAI, and my predecessor, Maggie Cavender, the first director of NSAI, she said, what if we interview the songwriters? Maggie goes, really? She goes, yeah, we'll do that around lunchtime and then come tell some of the stories behind the songs. What's y'all's motto? We're even going to buy y'all a banner. Motto? We ain't got a motto. So they went into emergency board meeting, and there was a precious lady. Thank the Lord I got to know her. Her little guitar and off-brand is sitting in my office. She had played the Opry early when it first came on the air at WSM. She was never a member of the Opry. And she was a volunteer secretary for NSAI named Lorene Mann. And they're having the meeting, and Lorene kept kind of trying to interrupt. Lorene, serious business. We got to come up with the motto. And finally, Lorene just went, it all begins with the song. And that's how we got that motto. Now, popular culture credited it to Miss Francis, which was partly true because we would not have come up with it, but that's where that started. And I still think it's just the greatest slogan ever for anybody, and we finally trademarked it.
Awesome. I love it.
Well, I think I owe you money or something because I was using that yesterday in a conversation I was having with an artist, Bart.
we won't stop you, but we've got some great merch with that down the sleeve. Y'all send me your sizes, Brent, and I'll get you and Johnny, and it all begins with the song.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I would love that.
Thank you.
I would love that.
Love it.
So where do we start? What song?
Yes. So Bart, I figure you're kind of like me. One of the reasons like I enjoy doing the climb, one of the reasons I enjoy doing Songwriting Pro events with other publishers and other people is it gives me an excuse to hang out with people that I enjoy and geek out over songwriting. So that's probably your not so secret reason behind wanting to do, you know, the story behind the song so much is just because you geek out on this stuff big as anybody.
Well, you have to be careful because we're usually together for a reason. It's usually a seminar or something. If we get started, not long ago, we were back in the room with Tom Douglas, and I finally went, "Oh my God, we got to go."
Right? Yeah.
They can wait. Finish the story.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'll start. I'll start with one of my 3 favorite episodes, the story behind the song, and I think we're going to fly in one later that I videotaped for the Tennessean. But one of my 3 favorites is the song "Midnight Train to Georgia." So let's go in the Wayback Machine. It was 1967. Give me license on the year, give or take a year. And the number 2 quarterback in running for All-American, number 1 was Joe Namath of Alabama. He was the All-American quarterback. But right behind him was a guy named Jim Weatherly at Ole Miss. And Jim would have probably won, but their team was lousy. Jim had to have several knee surgeries. I mean, they killed that guy, but he'd still hurl that pill and get it off. And he was heavily recruited. In fact, the Vince Lombardi called Jim, "I want you to come play for the Packers." He goes, "I'm going to move to LA. I'm going to be a singer-songwriter." I'm like, "Are you out of your mind?" So Jim moves to Los Angeles.
It's like less hits, but they pay better.
and movie stars. And by the way, there was sort of a country music scene between Bakersfield and LA more back in those days. So Jim moves out there and he cannot get arrested. He don't want to tell anybody he's that Jim Weatherly. But they finally figure it out. So some of the major, and I use that word intended, stars of the era have a flag football game every Sunday. I think it's out at Griffith Park. And they decide they want Jim to play. Well, everybody's like, "You be our quarterback, you be our quarterback." He ended up quarterbacking both teams. He ended up having to put the games together. So it invariably on Saturday night when everybody else is out trying to date or whatever, Jim's calling the stars to see if they're going to show up on Sunday. So I said, Major, remember? You remember Lee Majors, who that was?
Yes, $6 million man.
My favorite guy.
$6 million man, Lee Majors. At the time, he's just dating or married to Farrah Fawcett. The Farrah Fawcett. You know, this is 70s by now. And
they had matching coupe Mercedes convertibles. I remember. I love Lee Majors. I had the $6
Well, I didn't have the
man
poster
doll.
because I was like 9, but if I could have afforded it, I would have had that Farrah poster. So so he calls and Lee's gone. He's calling to see if Lee's going to play the next day. And Farrah answers, "Hey, Jim, Lee's not here. I'd love to stay and talk to you, but I got to catch a midnight plane to Houston."
There we go.
Click. Jim starts writing it down and he writes that song. Well, the word Houston now. So they pitch it and he gets it to Sissy Houston. She records it before Gladys. And that was Whitney's mother.
Wow.
Whitney Houston's mother. So she heard it, but the midnight plane to Houston thing, she calls Jim and said, "Look, I didn't grow up flying on airplanes. I was a poor girl in the South. Do you mind if I change it?" And before she even got the word "to" out, Jim said, "Change it." And they changed it to "Midnight Train to Georgia." So she puts it out. And man, back in those days, you could write a song, it'd be on the radio in 6 weeks, and there'd be 3 or 4 covers of it out at the same time. Gladys heard it. She puts it out. "Got anything else, son?" He had a couple in his pocket called "Neither One of Us Wants to Be the First to Say Goodbye," and "You're the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me." And that's the story behind the song "Midnight Train to Georgia."
Midnight Train to Georgia, inspired by Farrah Fawcett Majors, y'all.
I got to go. Let's be some pips. I'm leaving.
Oh, superstar, but he didn't get far.
Not very far. Yeah, I love it. And I'll tell you what, I call those car wreck songs. I don't care where you're driving. If it's on the interstate in the worst part of town, that thing comes on, you jack it up, and I'm not paying attention to the road, pal.
That's right.
That's so good.
That's exactly right. I never knew that. That's amazing.
I'd heard that before. That originally was. I was trying to remember. It was like, did I hear that as a joke or for real? It was Midnight Plane to something else.
to Houston, yeah.
And that's okay. So I teach on this. So I got to teach.
Okay.
Keep your ears open for conversation. Don't be afraid to rewrite.
You can tell a true songwriter because even in the most, they could be meeting the president and something gets said and those eyes shift. They're not paying attention anymore when they hear that phrase.
Exactly.
Yep.
So I got jokes about talking to presidents and song titles, but I won't go there. Okay.
Well, what's one of you? I don't want to monopolize this. What's one of your favorite songs, or even the story, or just your favorite song? I'll start that.
Yeah.
And I've had a list since I started as a kid DJ, 16 years old, working on radio, pop station on one side, country on the other, live gospel music on Sunday mornings. We played it all, quartet music. And I've had a list of my top 10 songs for probably, and they haven't changed for probably 20 or 30 years till about 2 years ago. And some of them changed, but number one has never changed. It is a great orchestral song about the seasons of emotion by Led Zeppelin. It's called The Rain Song. Y'all know that song? It is the summer of my smiles. Flee from me, keepers of the gloom. Speak to me only with your eyes. Here's to you, I give this tune. So that's mine. That's mine.
See,
I love that.
One of my favorite all-time songs is, I mean, there's a bunch, so, you know, there are always more. But one that jumped out at me is called Hold Me Jesus by an artist named Rich Mullins. So he's a...
I know not of this song. Talk to me. I want to know this song.
So, I don't know if you know, oh gosh, what's his name? Rick. Oh, I know his name until I try to say it. But anyway, he's a publisher in town. Helped Rich Mullins get his first.
Not Sanjak.
No, I'm gonna have to look him up on my phone here and see, because that's bothering me now that I've said his first name. Let's see. I'll have to find it later. Anyway, he's a Christian artist. He started off as a writer. He had wrote like a big song for Amy Grant, and he's just a great artist, songwriter, kind of the Dylan of country music. So
that's saying a lot, man.
Oh yeah, it's very poetic. There's a song called Hold Me Jesus. And the song he wrote for Amy Grant was called Sing Your Praise to the Lord. It was like one of her early ones. But anyway, Rich wrote this song called Hold Me Jesus, and there's this line on there. And one thing I love about it is so raw for like a gospel, CCM type song. And there's a line in there that says, I wake up in the dark, and as I wake up in the night and feel the dark, and it's so hot inside my soul, I swear there must be blisters on my heart. So hold me.
I love that.
Yeah. So hold me, Jesus, because I'm shaking like a leaf. You have been King of my glory. Won't you be my Prince of Peace?
No.
It is.
You got to email me that, please, Brent. That'll be on my playlist tonight.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, Rich has like so much of that kind of stuff where it's just so poetic. There's a line in one of his songs like, the moon shines like a sliver of wood on a carpenter shop. You got that quarter moon, that little slip. Like, it's so poetic, but it's accessible and it's very like raw. And so Rich Mullins, Hold Me Jesus. That's one of my all-timers.
Johnny?
I love that. But for me, it's like some of my earliest memories of music were of watching my dad, and my parents liked music. They listened to a lot of country. They listened to a lot of Neil Diamond. But they weren't like musicians. There wasn't like music always on in the house or anything like that. So I think one of the reasons it was so formative maybe for me was just remember my dad bringing home Hot August Night.
Yeah.
And putting that on the record and just like freaking out like on the prologue, and it gets into the whole record. And that would be like one of my records that if I, had to be banished to a desert island that had electricity and a record player and I could only bring 3 records with me, or, it would be like, that would be one of them. But I Am I Said on that record is... I Am I Cried. Yeah. It's so, LA's fine, sun shines most of the time and the feeling is laid back. Palm trees grow and the rents are low, and I keep thinking about making my way back. I'm New York City born and raised, but nowadays I'm lost between two shores. LA's fine, but it ain't home. And New York's home, but it ain't mine no more. I don't know that this
generation knows Neil Diamond the way they need to. Go get his whole catalog.
Yeah.
You both have prompted me for other song stories. And man, I love this. I could do 97 episodes.
Let's make it a regular bit, Bart. This is
well,
fun.
hey, don't be careful what you ask for. So I'm telling you. So I was maybe 13 years old. My parents would ship me off. My uncle was the coach of the University of Alabama soccer team in Huntsville. They won 2 Division I NCAA championships. He was a
Nice.
former professional player from Ulm, Germany. He was Ukrainian, and his name was Jim Stremecki. Tata, buddy, I'm going to kick you to 50-yard line like soccer ball. You're going to kick you back if you don't do what I say. So my cousins were Jimmy and Danny Stremecki, and I was staying every summer in Huntsville and fell in love with a girl at the Bayside pool down there named Patty Paletti. And we decided to have a dance in my cousin's backyard. So we went to the record store. They had a little old bitty 45 RPM record player. Remember those? The needle would tear the wax out after you played it about 3 times. And the same day, I bought 2 records. I'm an Elvis freak. I remember side A and B of the first one. It was a recitation by Elvis, and I always love a talking part. It was called U.S. Mail. I'm a U.S. Mail because I was born in a Mississippi town on a Sunday morning. The backside was Stay Away Joe. Fun fact. The Presley team, Hill and Range music, Elvis and Gladys songs, were great lyricists, but short on melodies. So they were taking 15th century Italian arias that were in the public domain and putting new lyrics to them. And one of those was Stay Away Joe for one of his movies. And it was Greensleeves. The canyons high and the valleys low echo, how can you stay away?
Yeah.
But the other one that you prompted me on, Johnny, was Cracklin' Rosie.
Oh, yeah.
We played that song 9,000 times in the whole dance. Patty Paletti did like that. And it was a tremendous success. And so years passed, man. And a friend of mine named Tim Bellamy, we're working on a national political campaign. I used to work for a member of Congress, and we get dispatched for an event in Memphis. And the whatever that hotel was, I think it was the Holiday Inn, had this bank of elevators. And we get there late. We've got to drop some stuff off, change clothes, and we barely got enough time to get to this event and set it up. Well, there's stanchions everywhere, and they won't let us get on the elevator because some star's coming in. And I'm like, I'm getting on this elevator. And here's what we're doing. It's very important. We're not going to creep on whoever the guest is. And you're either going to have to let me in or arrest me. I've got to get on this elevator. So we get on the elevator, and lo and behold, that here comes the guest and his entourage. And it's Neil Diamond.
No way.
He and his manager and my friend Tim and I get on that elevator. And it's just awkward sauce, right? So I thought, and Brent knows me well enough. I turn around, he's going up to like the 14th floor. Oh, Cracklin' Rosie, get on board. And he looks at me like, this guy's going to murder me. And then 2 seconds later, he starts singing it with us and singing it all the way up. We went past our floor, and I got to sing Cracklin' Rosie with Neil Diamond and Tim Bellamy. Go, taking it slow. Lord, don't you know? Anyway, I think this whole generation needs to tune into some Neil Diamond.
Man, I need to know more of it because I know some. I can bump, with the best of them, but it goes a lot deeper.
Rosie Child, she's got the. That's what a great man. By the way, Neil,
I cut that song trying to do for that song, like for Cherry Cherry, this is the weirdest thing. Like, it's such a good song, but I'm so used to Hot August Night, the live version of it.
Yeah,
I can't stand the recorded version.
I'm like that too. There's only 2 or 3 covers now that we're on this, but I've got a couple more songs that y'all prompted me about. My favorite cover ever, and I'll tell you yours. Usually the first version I hear of a song is my favorite, but That's How I Got to Memphis. It's the great Tom T. Hall song by Buddy. Oh, he's the great Buddy Miller. Buddy Miller. Check that out. That's How I Got to Memphis.
I bet Buddy
plays that thing.
I bet Buddy's cool.
But another thing about Neil Diamond, not just the songs, I don't know who produced it. Those were some of the best records ever made.
Yeah.
What records, man, live or studio.
Yeah. I mean, I know every single second of that record, every rap, every You are
Yeah.
so
Was that a double?
sweet.
Was that a double album?
Yes, it was. Sure was.
That's what I thought. Double live album.
Yeah.
Well, here's another one Brent gave me, and I'm giving you both the favor if you don't know this guy. You said two words. You said Jesus and you said Dylan. So
Here we
I
go.
think I told you on the last webcast, that I'm around music because sometime between when I was 4 and 5, my uncle, the late Billy Pullen, my family called me Barty, said, Barty, come in here, and played me That's When Your Heartaches Begin by Elvis. And I've been an Elvis freak ever since. Got engaged at Graceland. I've got his logo tattooed on my left shoulder here. And so I worked at a little radio station called WTPR in Paris, Tennessee. But it came on the air in the 40s before you had major, small, and medium markets, and it just stayed on the major market list.
Wow.
I worked weekends and nights, so every Friday this truck would back up, and we'd just get dozens of major records, like we were WNBC in New York or something.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'd go through the boxes. You get 8 or 10 copies because you played actual 45s back then. I don't think it was theft, but I'd get a couple, built quite a record collection, would take them home, but I'd always go through the RCA stuff. And the reason I probably work for songwriters is I grew up with a man that became a really famous songwriter named Jimmy Stewart. He wrote A Little Less Talk for Toby, Keith Whitley and Earl Thomas, that Keith's Last Cut, Brotherly Love. And I'd get off at 2 a.m. Of course, Jimmy was still up. He had a great Southern rock band there of some regional fame called Tennessee River Crooks, TR Crooks. So one night in this RCA box, I find this record called Lean on Jesus. And it was written by the late Paul Kraft. Did you know Paul? Paul was a boutique publisher. Paul would sign single song contracts, and among the songs he signed was The Gambler.
Oh, wow. On a single song contract.
It was Christmas Eve and snowing. We were sitting at the Mission. Some of us were drunk and some were stoned. We were singing, Won't You Give Me Some of That Old Time Religion, when this old man sang a chorus of his own. Lean on. You better lean on Jesus. You better lean on him before he leans on you. So finally, Jimmy and his band, the TR Crooks, this was 1977, if I remember correctly, get their first Nashville gig. And y'all are too young to remember the old time picking parlor. It was down by Hume Fogg High School on Lower Broadway. It was not the safest place to be. You go in and the stage, there was sawdust on the floor. And I think Christofferson, when he wrote To Beat the Devil, had probably brought about that club. And the stage was about 30 feet back. It was the weirdest thing. So we come in one night and somebody's playing a song before Jimmy and the band said. We're like, went up afterward and we told this guy, said, we love that song. He goes, love it. I wrote it.
No.
Of course, we thought Paul Kraft wrote it, and Paul was a co-writer. Have y'all ever heard of the amazing Bob Dylan of Nashville, Mark Germino?
I've heard the name,
I've heard
but
that name too. Yeah.
Got everybody, and then call me and tell me I'm wrong. Maybe the best album ever recorded in Nashville, Tennessee, including Nashville Skyline, is an album called Radar Town by Mark Germino. So my friend Jimmy, Chuck Cannon, Craig Wiseman, Scott Miller, Bernie Nelson, Tony Arata, they were always playing around, 4 of those 6 or 7 guys. And I worked for the congressman from Nashville. I had to come down from DC all the time. And I would always make sure they were going to be playing around either at Douglas or the Bluebird. And they always finished with that song. Well, Germino disappeared. We looked for him for 20 years, literally 20 years. This was pre-internet, pre-whatever. Found out later he made his way to New York City for love. Finally, one night at the Bluebird, this was probably around, I don't know, 95. I'm there, Jimmy, Chuck, Craig, and the Bluebird, you play original stuff, but they always ended with their cover version of Lean on Jesus.
Wow.
So they sang it. Everybody's got to go to the bathroom bad, but you're waiting for that last song to be over. You can barely stand up 2 guys in the Bluebird bathroom, right? I mean, you can't even open the door if there's 2 people in there.
That's right.
So Jimmy's over at the toilet. I'm at the urinal. And I'm like, and some guy's trying to push in, like, we're coming out, and he just pushes his way in. And I say to Jimmy 20 years later, God, I love it. And he goes, love it. I wrote it. And we turn around, and there stands Mark Germino. We reconnected, and we be great friends. But I want you to particularly listen to a song called Exalted Rose and tell me if there's ever been. So Lean on Jesus, the Bob Dylan of Nashville, Mark Germino, the album's Radar Town, the song is Exalted Rose. But everything on there, She's a Mystery to Me, and just on and on and on. Check him out. Do yourself a favor, the great Mark Germino.
That's very cool. I have one. Of course, I have obvious ones like Amarillo by Morning, Good Old
Oh,
Boys
yeah.
Like Me, that are just like, but let's go for some deep cuts, right?
All right.
So there's an artist named Chris Knight. So this is like circa 1998. I'm in grad school working on my MBA at Arkansas State University. Go at the time Indians, now Red Wolves. And I was in Hastings,
Now,
which is
didn't Mark Allen Springer play there, basketball?
I don't. He's from around there. I don't know if he
Yeah,
played
I
basketball.
think he was like, what was Division 2 or 3?
It depends on the year. We're D1 now. At one point, we were D2. So
Well,
maybe
I would never have admitted this till now. He was the best basketball player in Nashville, Tennessee.
Really?
Man,
Wow.
you didn't want none of Mark Allen Springer. He wrote Two Sparrows in a Hurricane and a
Yes.
whole lot more stuff. So
Yeah. So he came and spoke to my local NSAI chapter with Angie Owens at Bono.
yeah.
I was a member there during college. That's how I met Mark Allen Springers, through NSAI. So thank you. And anyway, so I'm at Hastings, which is like a bookstore and music store. And this is basically internet where you can go check everything out. And so they'd have these listening stations where you could, they'd have some stuff like you could kind of sample, music, new records that were out. And I'd heard about, and I was just at the point in my life where like every once in a while I got the itch. I got to go buy a record. I got to go buy a CD at the time. I need some new music in my life, more than just what radios and MTV and CMT are giving me. So I go out looking for stuff. And I think I'd heard about Chris Knight. Saw something online maybe about him. He was on Decca Records. And so I would go and I preview that record at Hastings, and I buy it and I take it home. And it's just a game changer for me. That whole record, top to bottom, is really cool. He's from Slaughters, Kentucky. Singer, songwriter, got this rough voice. He is just like real storytelling stuff. And so one song in particular off that record for me is one he actually co-wrote with Craig Wiseman. That's before I really kind of knew who Craig was. It was early. He was like 98. It's called It Ain't Easy Being Me, which I think Blake Shelton covered at one point, but I like Chris Knight's version better because it's just more raw. And some of the lyric in this thing is just so good. It's like, there ought to be a town somewhere named for how I feel. Yeah, I could be the mayor down there and say, welcome to Sorryville. Wouldn't be on a map nowhere. You might swear that it don't exist, but if you make enough wrong turns, it'd be hard to miss. Well, that's the first verse.
you're not going to believe this. Just the other day, like within a month, somebody brought his name up. I never heard of him. I went, because there's a Chris Knight in one of the boy bands, right?
Oh, I don't know, but that ain't
And
him.
I said that guy. They said it. Within a month, somebody else. I've got to go check this out.
So good. And then the second verse is basically, the chorus, it ain't easy being me. Second verse, there ought to be a sideshow act for freaks like me. Let's see. Ought to be a sideshow act for freaks like me. Yeah, I could be the star of the show with my name on the marquee, in a room with a big red button that says danger, do not touch. And twice a day I'd mash it down and you could watch me self-destruct. I mean, it's just like so brilliant and fun. There's a song on one of his records called Down the River. It's like this 6-minute murder ballad, revenge story. It's killer, pun intended. So good. So Chris Knight, he used to write for Blue Water Music, which was my first music biz gig in town. So I worked there doing data entry. So like I got to listen to like Chris Knight demos and Jim Lauderdale stuff and Kim Ritchie. Jim was still writing there at the time, and Lauderdale's a nut. He's awesome. But like I was a fan of Kim Ritchie and Chris Knight before I moved to town. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like a kid in his candy store going, I get access to demos? What? Yeah. So anyway, so that's one of my deep cut faves.
Bart, I want to hear the story behind Wichita Lineman.
Well, that episode just came out as we taped today.
Okay.
Oh, awesome. Tennessean with Jimmy Webb. I just did it. Literally was released today. And So you can go to Tennessean.com, story behind the song, music, story behind the song, and see it. But real quickly, Glenn Campbell had already done By the Time I Get to Phoenix.
Mhm.
He was in the studio cutting another record, and he calls Jimmy and basically says, "It's a bunch of garbage. I want you to write me another one of them town songs." Jimmy goes, trying to be diplomatic, goes, "Yeah, Glenn." And on this, he impersonates Glenn, which is priceless. Jimmy Webb impersonating the talking voice of Glenn Campbell. "Well, yeah," Glenn said, "I want you to write me one of them town songs." And he goes, "Yeah, Glenn, I'm trying to kind of get away from that." But Glenn was persistent, and he says, "Well, what about a region?" And Jimmy goes, "Let me see what I can do." Now he's in the studio. He wants it that day.
Oh my
So you
gosh.
talk about the pressure being on. I think he wrote it in a day. And Jimmy had this visual of, yeah, everybody's going to be too young to remember this, even you guys. But back when all we had landlines, and I grew up with my grandmother had one of those phones that
Oh,
you
wow.
took the Andy Griffin thought the receiver.
Yeah.
There was one operator. We were on a party line. Like, "Miss Hume, you got to get off the line because John's cut his finger. We need to call the doctor." There's 8 families on the same line.
Yeah.
From 10 p.m. till 6 a.m., you couldn't call out because they had to plug in the switchboard. But back then, you could see repairmen up on the phone line, and they had this little princess kind of phone, and they'd plug it, they'd attach it to the phone line and dial to see if the phone was working.
Mhm.
And Jimmy's driving by and he sees that guy near Wichita, or he made up Wichita, with that little phone.
Mhm.
And the further he got away, the more that little character diminished. And that's how the song got written. And I won't give away the rest of it, but I will tell you one part. He, as songwriters know, he sent it to Glenn in a package. "It's not finished. I'm still working on it, but if y'all want to start on it, here it is." Never heard back. So they're cutting the record, almost finished. He goes over there a couple weeks later and tells Glenn, Glenn goes, "Let me finish this cut. I'll come talk to you." And he says, "Yeah, I'm sure y'all passed by a couple other things." He goes, "We done cut it."
He's like,
And
"I
he
didn't
goes, "You
finish it."
cut it. It wasn't finished." He goes, "It is now." And that's the
Yes,
storyline,
sir.
Wichita Lineman. While we're at it, if you can indulge me, I think you've agreed to fly in an interview.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't want to hurt any feelings, but this singularly is my favorite episode of Story Behind the Song ever. It's 15 minutes. Don't walk out of the room because every little detail adds up. And it's the great Jim Peterick, of the band Survivor. He wrote the most valuable copyright single song in the history of time, "Eye of the Tiger."
Really?
Really? I mean, I knew he wrote that, but I didn't know that was the most
Well,
valuable.
there's a news story about it. Look at the multiple he got for that just for 4 or 5 years. Then he got it back because it keeps getting cut globally without any effort. It just appears in everything. That's another episode you can find on the Tennessean of Stallone stealing a copy of the movie to send it to Peterick, who rents a Betamax this big. Bomp, 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 and the punches coincide. But anyway, one
So
I like
good.
even more, and we'll start it now, I guess, is Jim Peterick, and "I'm Your Vehicle, Baby."
Yeah.
Let's go.
Check this out.
Okay, then 15 minutes, we're done with
Yep.
that, and y'all pick it back up. I guess you'll cut that out.
Mm-hmm.
And well, we apologize in advance, but he was 17 years old, and 17-year-olds will look at another girl's chest and try to get a good angle.
Well, in a
On
minute,
occasion.
my last story behind the song of my top 3 favorites also involves a 17. But before that, y'all queued me up on some records you need to hear. You said the word moon earlier in the episode. I found out when John Rich left Lone Star, before he met Big Kenny and Big and Rich, he cut a solo album.
Really?
And Sharon Vaughn produced it. John could have had any producer in the world. He wanted Sharon Vaughn to do it. Really close with Sharon. Her first 2 songs she ever wrote.
What?
"Y'all Come Back Saloon" and "My Heroes Have Always Been Cowboys." First 2 songs she ever wrote.
Nowhere to go but level off.
Well, check out those episodes, and especially where she pitched that personally to Waylon Jennings. But she called me and says, come over and meet John Rich. And he knew what I didn't know, and he starts picking on me. Of course, you know, John, you can go either way. And
Yeah.
he starts like, you Herbison? Them damn Dixon County Herbisons? And I'm like, yeah. And he just kept on. I'm like, son, come to find out, we are first cousins once removed.
Really?
And he knew it and I didn't.
Oh, that's funny.
But you've got to hear that record. It's got in one of the best, maybe the best sonic song in the history of this town, and that's saying a lot, is Underneath the Same Moon. New Jerusalem is on that. It's just, you'll find it if you Google or search on a streaming service, any but Spotify.
Yeah, not Spotify. Look somewhere else.
Underneath the Same Moon, and do yourself a favor. What a magnificent record.
Wow.
Cool.
Another one is an album called Country Suite, Suite, by the great Dave Loggins. Do yourself a favor on that. And if you make me pick a song most people have never heard, that's priceless. There has never been a song, I would put 16th Avenue up there with it, but the greatest song about the blessing and the curse of being a songwriter and artist is called To Beat the Devil by Chris Christopherson on his first album. And so, but I'm gonna, do we have time for one more story about a song?
Yeah.
I love this one. So Kenny Loggins is 17 years old, and he's at what became Beverly Hills High School. It had another name now in LA. Y'all remember the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band?
Yeah.
Well, Jeff Hanna, all those other guys, John and all those other guys were older than Jeff. And Jeff was probably 19, 20, coming off of Mr. Bojangles. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They're all out in LA. And again, we said earlier in the episode, it had a kind of country pop rock thing going on. Poco was out there, eventually the Eagles, you know, J.D. Souther, Linda Ronstadt. There was this whole country pop rock scene. So they play house parties basically to get dates. Kenny plays a couple songs at one of these parties where Jeff's in attendance. Now, hear me here. He's 17 when he writes Danny's song.
Oh, wow.
And House at Pooh Corner.
Wow.
So Jeff hears it, and a few days pass. Now, I went back and looked at this episode, and what I'm going to tell is a little bit of a lie. I apparently aggrandized this.
At least you're being honest about it.
But I like my version better. You can see the real version on the Tennessean.com. So he's coming out of Beverly Hills High School one day. Jeff's going to pick him up, and Jeff's standing out there like John Cusack with his arms raised like, yes, man. And Kenny's like, what? And he goes, we just cut your song today. Well, what does that mean? It's going to be a single. It means you're going to make a lot of money, and you probably have the career writing songs. So what does that mean? And he tells him on, Kenny's like, really? So he's on cloud nine. Well, a few days pass, and comes back out of school, and Jeff, wherever they met, delivers the news. He comes out, and Jeff's like, I'm sorry, man. What are you talking about? They won't let us put it out. Who won't let us put it out? Disney. Winnie the Pooh is trademarked. And they've said, no way, hell to the no, you cannot release this song. It's Winnie the Pooh, and we own it. Kenny's like, but. He said, there's no buts. If you want to be a professional songwriter, learn this part of it right now. It's 99% rejection. It's a stab in the heart. It's a twist of the knife. Welcome to the profession. And Kenny's like, So Kenny goes on about his business, and he has a date that night. Let's call it a Friday night. And he's telling his girlfriend all about it. And he's going, I'm not going to be good company tonight. We don't even have to go out. She goes, I love you, Kenny. I'm your girlfriend. I'm here to support you. Cry on my shoulder. And he tells her the story. Monday afternoon, Kenny comes out of school again, meets Jeff wherever it is. And Jeff's back out there like, yes. What? He goes, it's back on. And Kenny goes, what? How? And he goes, your girlfriend. Kenny goes, what are you talking about? Her daddy was the vice president of Disney. And that's the story behind that song.
Oh, my God.
Can you get a better story? And I drop my mic and rest my case. And I got to tell you, this is the funnest hour I've spent in years. I will do as many times as you want to do it. And I love talking to you guys about it.
Oh,
thank you, Bart. No, this is a blast, man. And
this is fun.
I want to do this. Like, we got to do this on, like, every 3 months or something.
I've done 300 episodes, so don't get me started, Johnny. We were about 320 episodes of this series now, and we do a print version, but it's also a video version. It is the most watched video series in the Gannett newspaper chain in the Tennessean, and I think that vindicates that people care about the stories behind these songs.
Yeah,
that's what the Bluebird and all these other clubs that have emerged since are founded on.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love when people come to Nashville and they discover the writers in the round and the story, that whole thing. They're like, what strange, wonderful alien world have I just stepped into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. So love it. Love that about Nashville. And I love that, as hard as you're working for us, that we can let you have some fun and gear you back up for sending you back in the battle, send you
I can't write.
Yeah, Bart, we're letting you have some fun. This is
you're letting me
going
have
out of our way to
a living.
I'm not a songwriter. The page is blank to me. The page is blank. I'm not a songwriter. I think I'm a great editor, probably the best one in town because I've done it a long time. But I will tell you, and I'm going to give myself a pat on the back, y'all let me into the club. I think like a songwriter. I appreciate it like that, and get a little misty-eyed. There's no greater honor that I would ever get than to be part of the club of songwriters in Nashville, Tennessee.
I love it.
You're helping there to be a club, so thanks
more
for
than a
all.
part of it, buddy.
Yeah.
We're putting you up on a pedestal, man, and we're very grateful for all that you do.
Winnie the Pooh didn't know what to do. Call Kenny Loggins' girlfriend. That's what's
there. We go. That's what you do.
Well, right on, man. Well, let's do this again for sure, man. That brings us to the end of another killer C.L.I.M.B episode. Y'all go check out that series, The Story Behind the Song. Maybe you can get ahead on a few of these stories here, all right? This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.